Okay, so this is another problem from the calculation assignment, and let's read through the question. The veterinarian asked you to dilute 5 grams of phenylbutazone powder to make a 200 milligram per milliliter solution. How many milliliters of sterile water do you need? So, reading through this question, we're finding that it's a basic reconstitution question, meaning sometimes in veterinary medicine, we have drugs that come in powder form and we need to add some type of liquid to them to create a solution or a powder in a liquid. Oftentimes we are adding sterile water, as is the case with this problem. Some of you in small animal medicine might say, well, why do we need to learn how to do this? Because it's usually on the box, how much volume we need to add. For instance, something like when we're reconstituting Clavamox liquid, which is an antibiotic. In this particular problem, phenylbutazone is a nonsteroidal anti-inflammatory that's used pretty commonly in large animals. And so for large animals, these medications often come in a really giant tub of powder, and we are given the concentration that we need to produce, and we often need to solve for the amount of volume or sometimes the amount of powder we need to add to make the appropriate concentration. So I like to do reconstitution problems using proportions. And proportions are basically comparing two ratios of equal value. So let's go ahead and start working through this problem. We have 3 of the 4 pieces of information needed to make this, okay? So we know we have 5 milligrams. What we don't know, we have 5 grams. What we don't know is how much water we need to add to the 5 grams. So I'm going to come down here real quick to set up our proportion. We want a concentration of 200 milligrams for every 1 milliliter. Remember, we can rewrite that 200 mg per mil in this format. That's going to help us. Okay, so when we do a proportion, again, we're comparing 2 ratios of equal value, a proportional value really. We know our mass. We know how much powder. We want to add 5 grams. What we don't know is how much of the fluid we need to add. So that is the X in our equation. Now, the thing about proportions that you need to remember is that the units must always match. Okay, so in this particular one, we have our concentration in milligrams. So we need to convert this 5 grams into milligrams for this problem to work out okay. We could also change this 200 milligrams to grams and put the 5 grams in there. Doesn't really matter. We're going to get the same answer, but they have to be the same unit. Same thing with the bottom. If we have milliliters over on the right of the equal sign, we're going to come up with milliliters over on the left. So let's go ahead and first take that grams and switch it to milligrams so that we can work with it. We know from memory that there's 1,000 milligrams per every 1 gram. When we solve that problem, we get 5,000 milligrams. We have 5,000 milligrams of phenylbutazone powder. Now we can plug that into our simple proportion. And when we're solving proportions, we are going to be cross multiplying, okay, in order to solve for X. So we're going to take 5,000 milligrams times 1 mil equals 200 milligrams times X. To solve for X, we're going to simply divide by the 200 milligrams on both sides. And that's just basic algebra. And when we do that, our milligrams cancel out so that we can be sure that our answer is in milliliters. And when I divide 5,000 by 200, I'm going to get 25 milliliters as my answer. So that's the answer to our problem. In order to make a solution with a concentration of 200 milligrams per mils, I'm going to add 25 milliliters of sterile water to 5 grams of phenylbutazone. Hope this helps.